I get it. When you start scrolling through security camera bundles, every listing looks slick. The glossy photos promise crystal clear 4K footage, the marketing talks about smart detection and color night vision, and before you know it you've added a $900 kit to your cart. Then the box arrives, you plug everything in, and the reality check kicks in. The cameras are a pain to set up, the night view is more gray than color, the app crashes every few minutes, and you wonder if you just wasted your money. That's the exact scenario I'm trying to help you avoid today. Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. So let's talk about the DREAME X 4K HDIP1610 system, a 16-channel NVR paired with 10 4K bullet cameras. In theory, it sounds perfect for a small business owner or a homeowner who wants the whole thing in one package. In practice, the experience breaks down into three parts: installation, daytime performance, and low-light performance. I've spent the last week digging through the setup guides, testing the cameras around my own driveway, and watching a handful of YouTube walkthroughs to see how it behaves when the lights go down. What follows is what you really need to know before you hit buy. First off, the hardware is genuinely impressive. The NVR ships with a 3 TB internal drive, which is enough to store 3 days of continuous 4K footage at a moderate bitrate, or a full month of motion-triggered clips. The cameras themselves are weatherproof and promise 150-foot night vision, which is far beyond what most residential systems can do. The 4K resolution means you can zoom in on a license plate and still read the numbers without the image turning into a blocky mess. That's a real advantage if you need forensic detail for insurance claims or police reports. But the biggest hurdle is the initial setup. The system relies on power over Ethernet to power each camera, so you'll need a decent switch or a PO injector for every device. If you're not already running Ethernet to each point where you want a camera, you'll end up pulling new cables or installing a separate PO switch, which adds both cost and complexity. The software side isn't exactly plug and play either. The DREAME app has a lot of menus, and the first-time user has to navigate through network settings, camera pairing, and firmware updates before the system will actually record. In my tests, the app froze a few times while trying to sync all 10 cameras, forcing a restart of the NVR. If you're comfortable with networking gear and willing to spend a few evenings tinkering, you'll probably get through it, but a complete beginner should brace for a steep learning curve. Now, let's look at how the cameras perform in the real world. During the daytime, the 4K footage is stunning. The wide-angle lens captures the entire front yard, and the smart motion detection correctly flagged a squirrel running across the fence without blowing up the motion log with false alarms. The smart detection algorithm works best when you set specific zones in the app, for example, focusing only on the driveway and ignoring a neighboring tree that constantly sways in the wind. That way you avoid the too many alerts problem that most entry-level systems suffer from. When the sun set, the color night vision kicked in, but it's not the full-color cinema you might imagine. The cameras use an IR illuminator to light the scene, and the resulting image is more of a deep blue hue than true color. That's actually useful for identifying people's clothing or vehicle colors, but it still looks like a classic night vision feed with a tinted overlay. The promised 150-foot range is realistic. In a clear line of sight you can see a person moving at that distance, though the further you go the more the image softens. If you need to monitor a long driveway or a perimeter fence, the reach is solid, but you shouldn't expect to read a license plate at 150 feet without zooming in and possibly losing detail. One practical strength that often gets overlooked is the built-in audio. The bullet cameras capture sound, so you can hear a car engine or a dog bark as part of the footage. When I tested the system on a street where a delivery van passed by, I could actually hear the door opening and the engine shutting off. The audio syncs perfectly with the video, which is a nice touch for anyone who wants more context than just a visual cue. However, the audio quality isn't studio grade. It picks up wind noise and can sound muffled if the microphone is pointed away from the source. If you need crystal clear audio for legal evidence, you may want to pair this system with a dedicated microphone. What about ongoing maintenance? The NVR's 3 TB drive is not user replaceable without opening the unit, which means if you want to upgrade storage you'll need to contact Lorix support or find a third-party service. Firmware updates are released about every few months, and they address minor bugs, but the update process can be finicky, especially if you have multiple cameras connected.